call this meeting to order on this Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. Shelby County Board of Supervisors. Have any conflict of interest on the agenda today?
No.
Okay. Is there any additions to the agenda, Mark? Everything okay?
I have not heard back from one department for the fiscal year 24 budget amendment, so I think we'll just forget that, setting that date today until I do.
Okay, what do you need to hear back from them about an actual number? Or what?
The income versus what we were expending. I visited with you briefly on that yesterday,
Yeah.
and I just haven't heard back yet.
So how does that affect the hearing if we don't do it?
There won't be a hearing. We won't set the hearing date until next time.
Okay, not,
Yep.
that won't mess you all up?
No. Nobody will go over budget by August.
Okay, so you're talking
I was
about,
just getting it done.
right, you're talking about number 17.
Yep.
Okay,
And they, one other thing, the ARPA expenditures for the Board of Supervisors in the 24 budget, I always thought we're gonna amend that, so we didn't know how much was gonna be expended between January and June of this year.
right,
We had no idea,
right.
and so now we can lessen that amount. And so I did not put that in the budget. And so Angel's figuring it out because she's the one that
So when you
tracks
say
that.
less than the amount, you're saying what
Well, I could,
possibly could be left over for us to allocate?
yeah, and I also, I could have put $1 million, it would have been covered.
Right,
Or 600,000, just made up a number. And I thought I'd wait until we amend the first time, then
Okay.
stick it on there.
okay.
But those are the only two things.
Okay, we'll put that off then. So we'll remove number 17. And with that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Approval of the minutes of June 13th. Any changes or corrections to that, Mark?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Claims for this month. Had a chance to look those over.
Yep.
I had a few questions. In fact, the claims is usually a formality. It's not gonna be that way today because we have some learning to do here today that we're gonna be talking about. There's a claim on here for $20,000 that we will be approving today. But Mark's gonna get into this a little more, but there was some cybersecurity issues and somebody demanded their money right away and we obliged. And now the county's on the hook for 20 grand and that claim wasn't approved.
And we have, yeah, I can read this.
Yeah. Hopefully the insurance will take care of that. But I had contacted our private auditor to make sure, since this is an ARPA grant, if we approve this one today and the wire that went out was for 20 grand, that it didn't take us over. And he said, no, go ahead and approve this grant. And the county is on the hook if the insurance doesn't come through with that 20 grand because it wasn't authorized. Okay, so that's kind of where we stand now. But Mark's going to explain how this came about.
And this was last
Wednesday.
Yeah, last Wednesday. And we have not, immediately we called them and said we need to get this stopped, and we have not heard back from the bank yet because yesterday, of course, was a holiday at banks. So we don't know the final answer to this whole deal yet. So I'm just going to read this. It's a lot easier for me if I just read it. Last week, a department head routinely brought in a bill to be paid. The invoice was overdue to my office. My office visited with another office to see how to process this payment, so each office could track the payment. It was decided to pay the bill and track it accurately. No, it was decided that to pay the bill and track it accurately, the method would be by wire transfer. A check would be entered into the financial system but never printed. This would give a reference for the money once it was removed from the account in our software. I contacted the bank with the wire transfer information provided to my office, not known at the time, was the wire information was not accurate. Apparently, an email was intercepted by a fraudulent identity that is unknown at this point. The account information was not the company that was on the invoice presented to my office. The auditor had called the real payee, but the owner of the business did not respond. The step that was missed by the auditor was the supervisors must approve the claims against the county before a check is sent in the middle of month set of claims. The end of month bills are automatically sent because of due dates on the first of the month. And the first meeting of the month sometimes isn't until the 7th. By completing this step without the supervisor's approval, it took away a chance to prove the account information was accurate before the wire transfer took place. At this time, no information on the completion of the wire transfer has been given to Shelby County, and written policy will be created and implemented in an attempt to stop this from happening again. That's pretty much how it all went down.
Did you ever contact Austin? You know, because this looks suspicious from the very beginning. Because
No, I was at the bank until that afternoon. What was it, about 10 to 5, and there was nothing, you know? But before that, no.
I know, but the counties, I mean, what, 99% of our business is done by check. This isn't something we normally do, non-government. I mean, we do some wire transfers, IPers, the state of Iowa, but not publicly like this. I mean, it's way out of the norm. And I know, do we have proper cybersecurity training here, or what are we lacking?
And as far as I know, I don't know if we have cybersecurity training yet. I have a plan in place to actually implement a solution that will force the users to do the training. Going forward, this is going to be a mandate. It's actually in the IT policy that we do have cybersecurity training. There's no specifics, but HIPAA does require that we have cybersecurity training. So I do have a plan in place. Going forward, we will have cybersecurity training.
Okay.
Thank you. But before I was here, to my knowledge, I don't know.
Taryn, can you answer that? I mean,
Yeah, there has been 3 trainings a month done, sent out to users, and then they're given like 2 to 3 weeks to complete, and then I go back and check and send out a reminder if they have not completed.
Okay. So, when I contacted our auditor to make sure we were doing things properly today, he said by law, he said, Steve, I have to contact state auditor's office because this is a unauthorized expenditure. And so then they contacted me yesterday afternoon with some questions and want to know what steps the board's going to take to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because they said this is a very serious matter. You shouldn't be paying claims before they're approved. And I told them I had visited with Austin, and I visited with Mark. And my idea was you were gonna get some policy.
Yep.
But from now on, because we don't do it very often, Austin, the sheriff's department, the board chair, and the auditor's office are all 4 going to have to sign off on it before any wire transfer is done. And so as soon as you can get me something like that, so we can get this approved from
Can I
the board.
suggest the treasurer's office too?
Yeah.
Because they have to be involved with this to make sure when they get
Sure.
it,
No.
it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't be left out.
Yeah, this can't happen, guys. I mean, this is a learning experience here, but it also, I'm just gonna be frank, Mark, I'm very disappointed in your lack of judgment and, you know, your role as a gatekeeper of our tax money, and something like this happens. This can't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know the policies, you know the procedure. I'm very disappointed. And it reflects on all of us.
Yeah, Mark, you're a 7-year employee in this department. This was a rookie mistake. So just please do your due diligence to
Get it.
rectify this in the future.
And hopefully our insurance will come forward, but that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is this was unauthorized to do. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Marcus, you have anything to add?
Shouldn't happen.
Okay.
I have a few things to say, but I'm holding my tongue. It shouldn't happen, Mark.
Okay, we're gonna move forward. Whenever you get that, please get it to me.
Absolutely, yeah,
Okay, and if you have any other suggestions, as you look that over,
absolutely, yep.
okay?
Probably just make an amendment to the current policies in place for any type of financial transactions.
Okay. You guys have any other questions with the claims?
None?
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the claims as presented?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Remember, going back to that wire transfer, that is not coming out of ARPA funds. Okay, that's, the county's gonna have to find the money if the insurance doesn't come through with that. Have you heard
I see.
anything from the insurance yet?
No, because we have to hear from the bank first.
And I wanna go back just a little bit. I know when you were notified of it, can you tell us what you did?
Yep, so I notified the office of the Chief Information Officer of Iowa. They reached out to try to provide support and try to track down, what went on, and they deemed it as not a cybersecurity attack. It was through the means of cybersecurity, but the ultimate way they got through was with the fraudulent wire transfer. So this could have stopped at cybersecurity, but obviously we don't have the training in place and the proper means to kind of identify that problem. The problem came up pretty unexpectedly, and I wouldn't expect anyone to actually recognize what went on because nobody, sometimes you can't read every single word on that, and they literally changed one character. So it was preventable, but it's very understandable that happened. But beyond what happened with the email, that's the unacceptable part. But,
Okay. Okay, we're gonna move on from that. Next on the agenda is chairperson's signature confirmation understanding of the auditing firm. Mark?
It's just the auditing scope and objectives for the coming year. And also this morning I delivered you what the costs are, because I assumed that question would come up this morning.
Right.
But this is just,
We have a contract with Grunwald and Associates. They've done ours, I know, since I've been on the board. And we did a 4-year contract last year. Last year's cost was $32,507. Of course, like everything else, this year's gonna be up to $33,670. And it goes up about the same percentage the following year. So, as far as my knowledge, we haven't had any issues with them. Have you, Mark? I don't know.
no, they're
Very efficient. They helped us with our budget this past year. And
professionally and personally, they're all good people.
yeah, and when I reach out to them for instances just like we had or something, they're Johnny on the spot. So I'm very professional. So do we, moving forward, do I have a motion to approve the auditing firm and for my signature?
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is Shelby County Trails fiscal sponsorship, which we've been doing for quite some few years, Bob, right? Correct?
That is correct. Conversations with Travis Helm with the DOT tells us that as a 501c3, we actually do not have to have this, but because the grant that we're going after normally goes to places with greater population density, anything we can do in our application to show local support is going to help our cause. That's why we have made this request.
Okay. Do you have any problems with it, Mark?
No.
I mean,
No,
has it been
it's-
any extra burden for you?
None.
Okay.
Sign a couple papers.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the Shelby County Trails fiscal sponsorship?
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. Do you guys have any other questions for Bob? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks.
Okay, at this time I need a motion to recess a regular meeting and open up our public hearing for disposal of county property.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, at this time we're opening up our public hearing for comments on the sale of county property, which is in Erling, that Secondary Roads Department used. Brandon, you want to come up and visit about that? Sure. Why we're looking to sell the property?
So I believe we had a maintainer parked there 15, 20 years ago. Bryce, you might know the exact
Oh,
date.
it was there when I was a kid,
Yeah.
Long time.
long time ago.
We haven't parked anything there in 15 or 20 years, so conservation's been mowing it, and it's just been an expense. So we had a fuel building there, it's since been removed. It's just an open lot, and it'd be nice to get it back on the tax rolls and off of our, it's just costing us, or costing conservation money to mow it, so.
Okay.
We have no plans to ever build any building there or anything
Okay.
like that, so.
It probably goes without saying, the Conservation Board is probably all in favor
Yes,
of this.
absolutely.
Okay. Have you had any written or verbal comments to you about getting rid of it?
I had one individual interested in bidding on it that knew that it was the road department's property, but that was 3 weeks ago.
But I mean, as far
So-
as for or against?
No,
doing it?
absolutely not. No,
Okay.
I
How
haven't
about
heard-
you, Mark?
None.
And you guys?
Nope.
I haven't either. I
All we've
haven't
had is those 2 bids
So we've
delivered.
received 2 bids since the notice. Anything else you wanted to add, Brandon?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so at this time, if anybody would like to, Brandon, you mind just pulling that podium out a little bit? If anybody would like to have any comments for or against us getting rid of the, it's like 0.87 acres in Erling, please now be the time to come forward.
It don't look like we have anybody.
Doesn't appear we have anybody. Okay? Do you guys have any other comments about it?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. So do I have a motion then to close the public hearing on the county property in Erling?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now we're in a regular meeting. We will open the sealed bids for the county property. And when we did notice in the paper and the board agreed, there's a value from the assessor's office put of $8,700. So we would not accept any bid lower than $8,700. Correct, Marcus?
Yep.
Okay, the first bid is, it says here, from Kelly Schwarty.
There's a letter opener right beside.
Okay? And his bid, Kelly Schwarty from Erling. His bid is for $17,008. Okay? You can have that, Mark. The next bid is from Ed Pittman. His last name is spelled Pittmann. And Ed's bid is for $10,000 even. So Kelly Schwarty is the high bidder. Any questions, Marcus? You have any comments on the opening of the bids.
So remind me, did they send a check in with their bids or?
No, there's
Okay.
nothing there.
So we'll need to notify Kelly and let him know, and then he'll need to get us a check, and I'll prepare a quick claim deed that you and Mark will need to sign.
Okay. Was there, now that you say that, I don't recall, was there any down payment listed in the notice, Mark?
No.
Okay. So you'll get a hold of them. How long does that usually take to close something like this? You know, so the conservation knows how long they need to keep mowing and keep it up?
You know, it's just a quick claim deed. We're not doing any abstracting or anything of that nature, so it's pretty quick.
Okay,
Within 2-3 weeks probably.
okay. So you're getting a hold of Mark when I need to come in and do that?
Yeah, I'll prepare the deed and quick claim deed. I'll email it to Mark, and then we can go forward with it.
Okay. So, do we have a motion to accept the high bidder, Kelly Schwarty?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thanks, Mark and Marcus and Brandon for taking care of this. And I know the assessor's office did a lot of work and research trying to narrow this down, so I appreciate all your help on that. Thank you. Next on the agenda is discuss secondary road ELDT position. Mark, Brandon?
So I know we talked about this a little bit in the past. I guess a little bit of history back through 2-3 years ago, we used to just be able to kind of train guys. They'd be ready to get their CDL. They'd come up to the courthouse and test and get their CDL. Fast forward, it was February of 2021 or 2022. The federal government made a rule. Now you must be ELDT trained, so it's a new training that's required. So basically, we had found a company in Altoona that you could go to. It was $900 cost, and they would certify basically that you'd trained the employee to drive a truck, and then they could drive with the DOT. So it was an additional step, but we were still training the drivers like we would to come up to the courthouse and take the test. The DOT, a couple guys from work had met with them, and you can do your own ELDT training in-house to skip that $900 step, and it's basically no different. It's a little bit more classroom time than we would have done before, but I'd like to get an ELDT trainer in-house because we've seen our number of applicants dwindle just like everybody else, and generally everyone's required to have a CDL at work, and the number of applicants we get with CDLs is significantly lower than it ever has been. We just hired a guy. We've had one guy go through the $900 class, and we just hired another guy that starts next week that does not have a CDL. I guess that said,
And then, so that training, if I remember, you've been sending them to Des Moines or not?
yes, yeah, in Altoona.
So that's a couple days?
It's 2 days of training and $900. So basically, the least that costs is about $1,500 when you include travel and the guy's time and stuff. If they do happen to fail or need more training, we have agreed to pay up to $1,500, and that's at least 3 days. So then we're out about $2,400. And then if we quit training people and they have to go to a classroom setting, I did a little bit of research. Those classes are anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000, and they're a week to 3 weeks to 6 weeks. So you're talking about $10,000 plus to get somebody their CDL. So to do it in-house, I would like to post in-house. Basically, there's an ELDT training position. The individual must come up with the approved ELDT training program, which there's a free website they can get all the information from and everything that's required. They must track the training and certify to the DOT that employees are ready to take the CDL test. We do 1 to
5 to 6 CDLs. If we had summer help and help them get their Class B CDL, they're a lot more valuable than somebody, Bryce, you know that. A lot more valuable with having their B. So I would like to post this in-house to see if anyone's interested in doing it in-house. And I guess proposed would be $1.50 an hour, kind of a
So
stipend.
whoever would take that position
Yes,
would be in charge of that.
yes. But they're in charge of coming up with the program and doing all the training and tracking. And if the DOT came and audited, or the Federal Motor Carrier Association came and audited, they would have to provide all the information.
Okay. Okay. So you want our approval to move forward with advertising and trying to get somebody
Yes,
in-house
please.
for that?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't have a problem with
That's a
that.
great idea.
I'm thinking it's probably gonna, it's a win-win for the employees and us saving some money too.
Right.
Downtime on the road.
Right.
Okay, do I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
Second by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for bringing that to us.
Thank you. I don't know that, I can give my update. So we
Somebody's out
had.
there. Somebody's out there.
Gary out there.
Is Gary out there? No?
Went to veterans.
What's that?
Whoever it was went in the CG.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
So I'll give my update
Okay.
first. F-24 project, we had our pre-construction meeting last Thursday with Western and their subcontractors. 10-point construction plans to start approximately July 5th within Irwin. They've got a lot of work with sidewalks and approaches to F-24 and some work on Main Street.
Okay.
That was the 4th division that Irwin's responsible for. And Western was gonna try to get the subcontractor that does the edge draining to come in July 5th. So we will, I'll get letters out to all the homeowners along there. I've got something kind of written up, and either Chris or I will try to hand deliver them or leave them at people's houses, just kind of explaining that the road will be closed to through traffic. Local traffic can still use it. You know, if you're going to Irwin, please use the detour where it's just downwind into F32 and then up M47. Western plans to be in, I think, the start of August to do the rubblization and the overlay. So fingers crossed we'll be done middle of September. Everything will be buttoned up and done. That's wishful thinking, I think, but that's the best information they could give us.
Weather permitting.
The 15th of June, right? Weather, and I know they've got Highway 59, so if they decide to do that first, then.
All these weather delays we're having, yeah.
Right, right. But they're gonna put the plant right south of town. They've got a building down there by Monogram. So they're gonna put the plant right there, which is fantastic, because generally they come out of Council Bluffs and we have to go check the plant every day and do samples and stuff, and it's 2 hours of driving that we gladly saved now. So that's good news. There's a light at the end of the tunnel for that project now. So bridge crews on the spillway bridge for Prairie Rose, getting the riprap slurry today, and then they're gonna set beams. I saw the load of beams going out this morning when I headed up here. So decking after that, and then we'll be on to the next project, which is up there on Ginkgo and 2000th. The guys are out blading with the little bit of moisture we got this weekend. It's so spotty that some guys have pulled off already, and other guys it might be okay to blade tomorrow. So, but whenever that's done, we'll get back to patching. We're building up a couple intersections, so we get back to work.
Hopefully we get an inch or two rain where we can get a good blade in
that
there.
would be,
Washboards in some places are just terrible.
Right, and that would be ideal, but we're trying, we kind of stay off of them unless there's a complaint, and then we kind of hit the areas, or the guys know which areas to hit. So they're currently ditching on 1250th and building up an intersection at 1150th and Timber. And then we had hired a company last year to come in on the bridge east of Tennant on F58. It's in between Hazel and Hackberry, right by where Mr. Barrett lives.
Mhm.
and they were epoxy injecting the deck. That deck had become
Oh, yeah, you
quite,
talked about that, yeah.
quite delaminated. They came in, he injected over 100 gallons of epoxy into it, and he's actually back there today. He had to let it set up, and he had a couple other projects, and he's back there to finish it up today. So hopefully we get 10 plus more years out of
See how
that.
that works?
Right.
Have you did that before?
We have not.
Okay.
There's a couple other counties that had tried it, and the DOT's just started to get into it, and I'd heard good things, so
Okay.
he came and he shot us a really good price on it, and we'll
Good
see how it
start.
works.
Sure. Okay.
So that's all I have for today. So.
Okay. Where do you want to talk about the Maple Road? Or?
I can't talk about that.
Okay.
I was approached by Gary Hopp to make improvements to Maple Road and 800th Street from 44 South past his residence, and I believe he built a new shop on 800th Street west of Oak Road. He'd like to do base stabilization and a double seal coat of that road. And he would pay for it, do all the work up to our standard, and he's presented it to the city because the first mile of Maple is down to 900th Street is city's maintenance. I believe they're accepting of it. We did, Staybill did some work prior to us having our oil roads policy, which in that I had talked to Marcus, and that doesn't really allow for that in our oil roads policy. I know we talked, Steve, Cedar Road and the city of Panama had approached us about making improvements, so if we do change, which I wouldn't recommend doing an exception to the policy. I would recommend changing the policy, which there's a couple things, updating it, yeah, because there's a couple things that we need to change.
Right.
And if Panama or Cedar Road or any of those, I think there is still people that would like to improve their roads, and
Right.
I don't think the city of Panama, I don't think that one's done yet, so.
No, but we've had those conversations in the past of offering that people are willing to pay, and then whether it's the county or the city would pay for what they normally would pay for maintaining of the rock. That would be our contributions
Yes.
for 3 or 4 years. But then, like I said, looking at our policy, we have that oiled one for privates in front of their property, and we don't want to interfere with what we're doing there. So if we're getting more of this than I thought we would, so I think we need to update our policy that it needs to be, a mile, it needs to be the intersections. It's not a back doorway of getting your private oil in front of your place. That's not the intent here, and that's not what we're gonna allow, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Right, and then there's just some other things in there. We're fighting oils, and it doesn't specifically say, if they have a quarter mile and they just want to keep it in front of their house, or they want to lose 100 feet off it, it doesn't specifically say that if you don't maintain any of it, it all goes. So
Right.
I'd like to put that in the policy. And
Plus,
things like
with the
that.
privates, we don't allow or recommend, we don't allow them to redo it, but they would have to have a basin. Here, we're
Right.
requiring that anybody that wants to pay for, a mile or more of road, they have to put a basin so it's gonna stay, because otherwise it ain't gonna stay.
Right, it would be built to a standard that the county would
Right.
build it if we were still oiling roads.
So before we would participate, the city would have to participate, and the base would have to go in,
Yes.
and we have to update our policy too.
Yes.
So we're not
Yes.
violating that.
Yes, and we would have an agreement. I know when we have done this before, it was before our policy with Scott Burchett, I believe, on
Yep.
Addition Avenue
Yep.
out there. And that's worked well, but they've stayed on top of maintenance.
Yep.
Fantastic. So it has worked before, and if I can do some updating to our policy,
Yeah.
and I'll speak with Gene Geddes with the city, see what
Okay.
their feelings are, and I'll get an agreement drafted, and I'll share it with you, Marcus, just to kind of go over it. I think the city was gonna kind of do the same thing.
Okay. Marcus, do you have anything to add to that? Maybe you did that.
No, I think definitely the policy does need to be changed if you want to do this. That's the main thing that Brandon and I had talked about, so.
Okay,
We need-
so it's spelled out, so everybody knows, so we eliminate these gray areas or
Right.
assumptions.
Right.
Do we need to approve it before?
We'll get the policy and we'll approve the policy
Right.
when it's just, yeah, we're not going through with any of this until the policy gets approved.
Right, right. And I'll have that as our next meeting, since the 4th of July is a Tuesday, Mark, or will we meet
Thursday,
Thursday?
Yeah, the
Okay.
6th.
So, okay.
correct, Mark?
That was the 5th. But you can set it today.
Yeah, I thought because you had said something out, I think we talked about the 6th on the Thursday.
Give us an extra day.
Yeah,
That's fine.
is that right with you guys?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
I'll have the policy updated and share it with Marcus and
Okay.
probably you, Steve, and make sure we have everything lined up prior to that meeting, so.
Okay. Okay,
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Brad.
sure been having a lot of public hearings the last few meetings.
Yeah.
Here we got a motion to recess our regular meeting again and open up a public hearing for budget amendments for 2023.
Motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Mark, you want to talk about the amendments?
Yeah, this is 2023.
This is it.
Yeah, like we talked when we set this hearing, this is a $17,000 increase, and what it is in revenues over expenditures. And administration was up 25,000, fiscal health and social services was 7,000 to accommodate the retirement, was the biggest spenders here. And
But that retirement was health insurance that they're
That's correct.
paying for, so it's just a flow
That's
through.
correct.
But we have to show an amendment that we're receiving the money, correct?
that we're receiving it, but the expenditure is what the auditors worry about.
Right. That was overlooked on the last amendment that we did. But the bottom line is we're receiving $17,000 more dollars.
When you get closer to
What
the
the
end of
expense
the year, the amendments become more
They
obvious.
kind of pile up.
Because you don't know how much they're gonna spend, and all of a sudden, somebody writes a check for $10,000
Right.
and they only had 15 left.
Right.
I'm making that up, you get the idea.
And we told our department heads at budget time that don't come with any amendments if you don't have the money to pay for it.
Yep.
The general fund, they've been very good about that, so, but these are things that revenues did come in and expenses to take care of that. so.
Right.
Anything else, Mark?
No.
Okay. Hopefully, you don't see any more of these coming in, do you?
No, not for this,
for
there's no
this year.
time this fiscal year.
Okay.
There's no time. Next fiscal year, like we discussed before the meeting, that was dropped off here, next fiscal year, there's income from the city of Harlan that's gonna offset the expenses that we're gonna amend. And what was the other one? ARPA funds were never set, and they've lessened the availability because we've spent them up this year. And last year, because I was a year before any of the expenses would be made, I just made up a number. And this year I want to try and be a little more accurate next year, so it's not an increase in spending of property tax dollars at all in the First Amendment for 2024.
Okay.
There's
I'm
no,
gonna say hopefully, and we were hoping that all the ARPA funds didn't get used up, but if there's some left over, if people are asking, we have a huge priority here of getting our air conditioning upgraded here, because we have 2 of them that are down, so that should be a priority here,
yeah,
okay? So hopefully we can get, because we didn't have the money set aside for
Yeah.
that.
the grants, the ARPA grants that are out, we have to honor them until December
26.
2024.
24?
Yes.
24, okay, okay.
So we would have to get written notice saying we're not gonna use this
Yeah.
before we could do any resolution.
Yeah, so we got all next year yet.
declared as lost revenues. That's what it's called.
Do you know, is there anybody that has finished theirs that have left money left over, or?
That I don't know about leftover funds, but there is one for, I think it was, I don't remember how much, for daycare that
Okay.
doesn't sound like it's gonna get used.
Okay. Okay, well, like I
But you
said,
wanna be fair about
Yeah,
everything. so.
Yeah, well, they have their time yet, so, okay. Do I have a motion to, anything else? I don't see anybody else to talk about the budget. Okay. With that, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Resolution 2023-38, consider amending the 2023 county budget. What we just talked about, the amendments there. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Bryce,
Second.
second by Charlie. You guys have any other questions on that?
Nope.
Mark?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Todd Deline still out there? Okay. Last on the agenda, Lonely Oaks Distillery liquor license renewal. That's an annual one. We have any issues there, Mark?
No,
With them?
I've never had a report from
No.
there.
I neither. It's something we have to approve every year. Do you guys have any issues on that?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Charlie to approve Lonely Oaks liquor license.
Second.
Second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thanks, everybody. Adjournment today. Thanks.
Thanks.